Let's stay with the courts. Advocate Charles Mnisi, the lawyer for accused number 3, is currently cross-examining Zandile Khumalo in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial that's taking place in the High Court in Pretoria. She was present when Meyiwa was shot and killed in Vosloorus, east of Johannesburg. Mnisi has put it to Khumalo that state witness Mtokozisi Twala will come and testify that accused number 2 had a knife during the alleged murder. Khumalo, who earlier claimed one of the suspects had locks, insists that she saw accused number 1 and 2 during the incident. The 5 men stand accused of the murder of the Bafana Bafana and Orlando Pirates star. No criminal element is being linked to an underground gas explosion in downtown Johannesburg. That's according to Gauteng Police Commissioner Elias Mawela. 1 person was killed and about 50 injured in the blast on Wednesday. A number of people are still being treated in hospital. Mawela says any possible criminal investigation into the gas explosion will be guided by the findings of the multidisciplinary task team. The Labour Department is spearheading the investigation. The exact cause and source of the explosion is still being investigated. Numerous buildings and more than 30 vehicles, mostly taxis, have been damaged. Mawela says police do not suspect any criminality in connection with the explosion. Right, let's go back to one of our earlier stories, one of the top stories we're following here on SABC News at this hour, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Senior reporter Chriselda Lewis is following court proceedings and joins us live. Very good afternoon to Chriselda. Just give us a summary of what happened today.
Well, Nzinga, just before we went to the lunch break, SMSs being revealed inside court that were downloaded by one of the investigators. This is SMSs between Zandile Khumalo, who is currently on the stand, and her sister Kelly Khumalo, which suggest that Kelly Khumalo, who was in a relationship at the time of Senzo Meyiwa's death, she was in a relationship with the deceased, seemingly point to Kelly Khumalo indicating she was somewhat frustrated by the relationship between herself and Senzo Meyiwa. These are now in SMSs that she sent to her sister Zandile Khumalo, who is on the stand, basically saying that she wanted or she felt like leaving the relationship and that she was frustrated seemingly by the fact that Senzo Meyiwa could not choose between his estranged wife and her, and basically saying that, to quote one of the SMSs, there seems to be a dark cloud that is over them on the basis that, Senzo Meyiwa had been frustrating her by what we can deduce from these SMSs that were read inside court. Now, these are SMSs in Zinga that investigators had downloaded. These are SMSs that had been sent by Kelly Khumalo to her sister Zandile Khumalo, where she also says like she feels like God is sabotaging her, in this relationship that she has with Senzo Meyiwa. And you could clearly, from what was read inside court, deduce that, there'd been a frustration that Senzo Meyiwa could not choose between herself and Meyiwa's estranged wife, Mandisa. And in that, those SMSs basically give, what is believed, or what the defense wants to believe, is an account of a relationship that had gone sour between these two individuals. When Zandile Khumalo was asked by the defense what some of these SMSs meant at the time that they were sent, what she often drew inference to was to suggest that all relationships have their ups and downs, but as far as she was concerned, Senzo Meyiwa and Kelly Khumalo were in love. But, in other cross-examination as well, key to what she was cross-examined on was that you'd recall that Zandile Khumalo, in giving her descriptions of the accused that had come into, or the intruders that had come into the house at the time that Senzo Meyiwa was killed, she made reference to one of them being dark in complexion. But the defense says that Longwe Twala, who was then Zandile Khumalo's boyfriend, will come and testify in this court that, one of the intruders was actually light in complexion. Let's take a listen.
This is what Longe will then continue to say. That he noticed that the 2 black guys, one was tall, light in complexion. Tall, light in complexion.
Okushoyo ke uLongwe ukuthi ke omunye waboke wambona ukuthi wayemude futhi ke light ke noma ekhanya ke ngecomplexion.
Now, before we get there, you have just given a description of the person that was in possession of the firearm. And what was your description of the other perpetrator, the one who had nothing, who you did not see anything in his possession?
Lona ke uqeda ichaza ke manje lo uthi wayephethe isibhamu, lo omunye ke wayengaphethe lutho yena. Uma umchaza uye wathini?
Ngithe mude okokuqala.
First I said he's tall.
Mncane ngomzimba.
Small in build. Yeah. He had a mustache that goes right around his mouth.
Right.
And that he wasn't dark and he was also not very light.
Thank you. Those were observations. Now, Longer would come and tell this court that the tall guy who got into the house, that is now according to his statement here, was light in complexion, and you're saying he was dark in complexion, not so.
Ulongo yena ke uma emchaza ke ngokwale statement esifundwayo ke ukuthi yena uzothi ke lo omude waye light wena uthi waye dark.
Okokuqala asiboni ngokufana.
Firstly, we don't see things the same.
Mina mangibuka leli bhodlela ngathi li light blue ufike wena uthi li green. Indlela wena ubona ngayo nani indlela engibona ngayo.
The witness referring to the bottle that's right next to her, in front of her, that if I look at it, I would say that it is light blue. You would come and say that it is green. That is how you view or you see it.
So what you're saying is Longer might have made a mistake in saying...
No, she's not saying that, please. She says...
Their observation.
Yeah, she says can't be expected to observe the things you're quoting for her. She has her own interpretation and observation which she has told the court. That's why she says you may look at that bottle and you say, she says, I say it's light green, somebody says it's blue.
Someone will come and say it's turquoise.
Somebody says it's turquoise.
What would the other one say, my lord?
Turquoise, that's what he says. Turquoise. You don't know the turquoise color.
I'm hearing that term for the first time. As it please the court, my lord, but thank you. That will be what Longer would come and tell this court. But further on, he made another statement. But let me just read it. Now, unfortunately, this statement is not numbered. But there's a paragraph that I'm going to read out there. I don't know, it's not numbered, but let me just read out. I think it will be eloquently interpreted. He says in his latest statement, I noticed two guys getting inside the house. The one who came first was short, dark, having dreadlocks with cheekbones.
Uthi lana ke kulesi sinye sifundo ke manje statement ngabona ke amadoda amabili amnyama engena endlini. Lona ke owayephambili ke noma oqala ke wayemfishane dark ka eneqhomo
and was
ama dreadlocks.
And he was wearing a jacket that was between khaki or light brown in bracket beige.
Egqoke jacket engakhaki light brown noma beige.
He says he cannot remember his other clothing.
Okunye awayegqokile athi akakukhumbuli.
He was followed by, immediately a tall one followed.
Waseke elandelwa omude.
He was wearing black hoodie.
Fake hoodie emnyama.
He was light in complexion.
Light noma ke ekhanya ngebala.
That is to say, he still emphasizes that the second suspect, according to the house, was light in complexion.
Lana ke usagcizelela ke ukuthi lona omude waye light ngebala.
Angeke ngimphikise ngalokho. Ngenzeka into njengoba sihleli la maybe 50 eRomani. Kuyangokuthi wena ubone ujike nini wayibona leyo nto futhi wayibona kanjani and futhi from which angle.
I wouldn't dispute it if that's what it's saying. Yes. It is possible that as we are seated in this room, there are about 50 of us, that you see something. When did you see it? How did you see it? From which angle? And when did you turn around to see it?
And futhi sonke singabona into eyodwa kodwa si experience ngeindlela ezihlukahlukene futhi eziningi.
We can all see the same thing, but experience it in different ways and many ways.
Well, Nzinga, also a crucial point that came across is that the defense also believes that there might have been some altercation that took place inside the house before Senzo Meyiwa was shot. What the defense says is that there's a witness who will come and testify that it was Tumelo Madlala who had told that witness that, Senzo Meyiwa had been shot. This was after there was an altercation between Zandile Khumalo as well as her then boyfriend, Longwe Twala. This is something that Zandile Khumalo disputes. Let's take a listen.
This witness basically would come and tell this court, because the state is going to call him, will come and tell this court that on the date of the happening of this incident, he got a call from your sister Kelly.
Lo fakazi uzozake azotshela ke ngoba bazombiza akazotshela inkantolo ukuthi ngelanga ekwenzeka ngaso isigameko ekwenzeka ngalo isigameko lesi wathola ke ucingo olubuya udadewenu uKelly.
Unfortunately, as she tried to explain what was happening, there was a conversation breakdown. When they tried to call her back, they couldn't reach her.
Ngeshwa ke esachaza ke noma esazama ukuthi achaze ukuthi kwenzakalani kwase kukhona nje ukunqamuka ke kwinkulumo leyo yabo uma esezama ke ukuthi abuyele kuyena ke akazange amthole.
Subsequent they then phoned Tumelo Madlala.
Base ke emuva kwalokho ke befonela yena uTumelo Madlala.
And Tumelo Madlala informed him, now this witness whose identity he would not disclose.
Waseke uTumelo etshela lo fakazi lona engithi ke igama lakhe alichaziwe
that Senzo has been hit by a bullet.
Ukuthi ke uSenzo ushaywe inhlamvu.
And this happened as Senzo was trying to intervene or separate a fight that was happening between yourself and Longwe.
Futhi ke lokho kwenzeka kathi ke uSenzo ezama ukuthi avimbeke noma ahlukaniseke ifight noma ukulwa ke okwakukhona phakathi kwakho kanye noLongwe.
That is the information that is contained in the statement. Do you have any comment, man?
Iloko ke okukulesi statement ingaba khona yini ofisa ukusho?
Okokuqala mina noLongwe sasingalo.
firstly, Longwe and myself were not fighting.
Sasi-happy kabi mna no-Longwe, we were in a very good space.
We were very happy, myself and Longwe, we were in a very good space.
Kuze ngimmeme ukuthi aze ekhaya, lokho kuchaza ukuthi sase-right mina naye.
For me to have invited him to come to my home,
Yes.
that explains that myself and him, things were good between the two of us.
Yes.
So lesho yo manje hayi angiyazi.
So that which is being said now, I know nothing about.
All right, Nzinga, we're expecting at 2 o'clock when we return from lunch for SMSs that were downloaded between Longwe Twala as well as the current witness on the stand, Zandile Khumalo, to be read out in court. We understand that the defense will focus on SMSs that were sent on the date of the actual incident, which was the 26th of October back in 2014. Back to you in studio.
SABC News senior reporter Chriselda Lewis really giving us insight into what took place in that case. Thanks so much for that, Chriselda. And that's where we leave it for now.